Oh, hey! I'm glad you're here. Or there, depending on what hellish dimension or corporeal plane you call home. My favorite place to begin with films is nowhere. I love letting the movie unfurl around me, coloring in not just the surroundings and the characters, but the rules by which this world obeys. Growing up in a video store meant discoveries by auteurs like Peter Greenaway, Derek Jarman, and David Lynch that would leave indelible marks on my growing psyche. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Mr. No Legs and Hello Mary Lou, Prom Night too, but finding a movie and falling into it only to discover that you perhaps still don't know where you are is something quite pleasant to me. Because then the chase would set off, and I would hunt for others who had seen such wonders like El Topo, so that we could discuss symbolism, meaning, and our reactions. Well, for this episode, I knew that we found the right person, so let's just get right to it. The film is Mulholland Drive. The guest is actor Sarah Burns, and this is VH Us. Hello, and welcome to VHS, the podcast where each episode is about a film and the guest has the experience or profession portrayed in the film. I'm your host, Dirk Marshall, and I'm joined by my trusty sidekick in all walks of life and after, Sarah Marshall. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you just brought me into the afterlife with
Yes.
you. Thanks,
Yes.
dude.
You're welcome. Excellent co-host banter check, which means it's time to welcome the guest, a talented writer, producer, and actor. You might recognize them as a pirate from Auntie Donna's House of Fun, as Detective May on Barry, Kaylee from Desperados, Claire from Wet Hot American Summer, Gabrielle from Big Little Lies, Gwen from Werewolves Within, and what if I did this bit for the entirety of your IMDb, Sarah Burns?
Name every credit.
Yeah.
You're like annoying woman at party that won't leave. That's real life. But
It's Sarah Burns. Thanks for coming back.
thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to see you again. A lot has happened since the last time I saw you. Werewolves Within came out, which I think you couldn't talk about before. Hilarious. How fun was that shoot?
That was the best. That was, I think, one of the two best shoots I've ever been on. And it happened all right before the world stopped. So the actors were living in a hotel that had yet to open. It was beautifully appointed, but it wasn't running. So it was just our little spot. And we were on location. So we got to become a tight family. And my family was there. And it was snowy. And if you've ever been to the castle, it was beautiful. And the shoot was a blast. The crew was amazing. It was so fun, and I rode out on such a high. Like, we hit a wall.
Yeah.
But it was actually a really good thing to chew on afterwards. I sound like a jerk, but I'm pleased with the way it came out. So
It's got to feel nice because you go on the job, you do your work as an actor, and then there's such a long period of time sometimes before something comes out. Do you have to pay attention because of your job to what happens when it comes out? Because something like this comes out and it's just like glowing review, like everyone loves it. Everyone is so excited about it. Does that feel good, or are you already on to the next thing?
no, I like that.
Yeah.
I I have learned to, this is taking a turn. Just
Right.
check out. If it's like, and that one Sarah Burns person, who the hell does she think she? I can kind of handle that, but I handle it by ignoring it, unless it's constructive. Could Sarah Burns be a better person if she, But I do like it because it's really neat when somebody connects with that, because it's like having a conversation with people who are watching it. I can't believe sometimes it's what I do, but it's like starting a conversation. We were also happy making it, so having people be excited to see it, it was just so much fun, and it was such a different part for me to get to do. I loved it.
Does that happen often where you get to go and live on set with your family? Was that the first time that you had done something like that, or does that regularly happen?
That doesn't always happen when I travel. Now that I have a family, it's offered. We try to accommodate it, and this time it worked out, and it was incredible. This was before my daughter was in preschool, so it was like, we can all go. And my partner hung out with her. They had daddy-daughter time, and there was snow, and she's such a California girl. Her first day, she walked out of the hotel and like threw herself down on the ground and was like, my legs don't work, and was screaming because she hadn't experienced the cold. We were like, we got to toughen this kid up. But it was a blast. She got to know the actors, and they were so kind to her. And
That's so cool. And now this movie will exist for her lifetime. So when she's an adult, she'll be able to think back to that time of being in the snow and being on set. That's such a cool life to have as a kid.
I hope so. A friend of mine was like, this job is hard, but if you can do like 70% traveler and 30%, I was actually going to say 20% normal, but there's another 10%. 10% psychedelic explorer. No, but if you can do some of that, kick some of that into there. You guys, we're giving these children good examples of how to follow your dreams. I hope. I'll just keep telling myself that until I need a lawyer.
I think by not having sort of quote unquote conventional 9 to 5 jobs, they can see that there's other options. Whereas I feel like my generation, we had career day or something in high school and everyone's like, well, what are you going to be forever? And I was like, what? What is this? This is terrifying. And they're like, choose doctor or army guy. Or I was like, this, I don't like this.
Yes, I remember them asking us, how much money do you want to make?
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I don't want to make any money. I want to be a cool artist. I want to make $10,000 a year. Well, then it's like, for an actress, I'm like, wait, what did I do? I think I said that in stone. But I didn't know. My upbringing was traditional. So like my mother and father are traditional humans. They've been together since high school.
Yeah, same.
My dad was the breadwinner and my mother was the caretaker, and it's successful for them. And they own a house and I'm like a maniac in response. And I was like, I kind of failed, right? I should have been like, I need a garage door opener. And that's not true. We have a garage door opener, but we rent, so it's not technically mine. But one day.
Excellent. And people can also hear you on the episode we did of The Tall Guy with Jeff Goldblum, a wonderful, weird movie. But Barry returns for season 3 on April 24th. We can't wait. Congratulations. When did you shoot that?
We shot it from July until November, and then came back for like a reshoot less than a month ago.
Okay.
I saw a clip of it yesterday. I went in to do ADR, audio.
Additional dialogue recording?
Yeah. Is that what I was going to say? Audio.
Yeah, it's additional, I think, because it's a supplement.
Yes, because the mumblers, this guy over here. I heard my voice. I was like, I sound like, hi, I'm detective. But I got to see like a moment of it, and it makes me smile.
Yeah, that seems like another incredible group of people to be on set with as well.
Well, this time around it was really crazy because it's COVID. We had a military grade COVID team leader.
Oh my gosh.
This woman named Elena, who was she's a veteran, and she took our COVID compliancy to a next level of protection. Like we had military level protection, and they kept us in blocks and separated and people in zone. It's very interesting to protect because we have to take our masks off. And the first day back, I was shaking and forgot how to be an actress, and I was just like, what's that thing? I go, it's a camera. But it goes so nervous being around people. And now I'm nailing it. So
good job. Way to get back to it.
Excellent. Well, we're brought together by the film Mulholland Drive from 2001. What's everyone's history with David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, starting with Sarah Burns?
I love this movie. I've seen it a billion times. And I love seeing it. I've just been watching it nonstop since it came out. I don't think I've ever seen it in the theater. I love it. And I watched it once. And afterwards we sat down, I think, and began steadily drinking and drawing diagrams. And I've read the Wikipedia page. Mm-hmm. I popped it open again last night and was like, you've already read this. I love it. I think it's so good. I did see the one he did. It was broken into threes. And there was a thing where it was a bunnies in an apartment.
Inland Empire? No.
Was it? It might have been Inland Empire. It was very long.
That sounds like Inland Empire.
That's the only one I've seen in the theater, I think. And I turned around and looked at everyone, and people in the theater were like,
yeah.
The audience might see that. But this movie, it's confusing, but it's like it inspires thought. I don't feel like I'm totally what?
Yeah.
But I love him. I love his work.
Same. Sarah Marshall.
What's my history with Mulholland Drive?
Yeah.
Same. I love this movie. I've seen it a lot. I remember when it came out, and at the time, there wasn't the internet, so we couldn't look up the Wikipedia page, which I do love because I remember you have friends who are David Lynch fans, and if they are, then maybe you don't. If you don't have friends that are David Lynch fans, then we don't have the same friends. But I have friends who are David Lynch fans, and it's like you get excited for the movie. As soon as it comes out, you see it. even if it's as soon as it comes out on video. Like, I think back then we didn't even have money to go to the movies, but we would, we would rent it and watch it all together. And we did that for sure. And then you talk about it and you try to figure it out. That's the thing I love about David Lynch movies, is that maybe you don't totally know what's going on, but it gives you something to talk about with your buddies to try to figure it out. So I remember specifically having that happen with my friend Noah, who is still my friend, and still when there's David Lynch things, we text each other about it, and we don't have to solve the mystery so hard because we could just look it up. but I
Yeah.
definitely remember that being a huge part of Mulholland Drive for me. And then there's parts of it that still live within me. So when Dirk said we were going to do this movie, I had this crazy nightmare. And
This is true. This is so true.
I don't know. It was so weird, but I didn't realize I was telling Dirk about the nightmare, and then we watched the movie right after, and I was like, Dirk, my nightmare was just like straight up out of this movie. Like, I combined different parts of it. So I had this dream that someone was behind the bushes that I couldn't see sleeping behind our house, and I looked out the window, and instead of being the person in the movie that's behind the dumpster, it was somebody all drenched in hot pink paint, because there's, this scene where he's dumping hot pink paint onto things. So I made this super creepy, and I was screaming in my dream, but whenever I have nightmares where I'm screaming, I just go like this.
Super loud.
Really loud, because I can't open my mouth in real life. And so whenever Dirk hears that sound, he knows to wake me up. And so he had to come wake me up, and I was like, thank you. I was having a weird creep dream.
And when this happened, I was watching Mulholland Drive in our living room with noise-canceling headphones on, and I still heard her. That's how loud she was trying to scream at the man in the backyard.
I sure was. So that was in my brain all these years, all this time, and it just came flooding out into my dreams, as it sometimes does with David Lynch movies for me.
Sarah, did you know that Dirk was going to be watching it?
No, I just went to bed.
Yeah.
That's crazy,
Mhm.
because when we get in, but that's insane. I mean, insane in a cool way.
Yeah, yeah.
I've had dreams where I'll be like, whoa, and then it starts to happen, and I'm like, wait, I had this dream. But you were actively picking up. I mean, you're connected, obviously, the two of you, but you're picking up on that nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess, Dirk, you, in the beginning of the episode, you brought me into your afterlife, but I think I brought you into my dreams.
Right.
With what you were watching.
It's like you just renewed your vows in front of him.
Oh, perfect.
Oh,
just
there
how
it
I
is.
always wanted
Hey,
it to be.
17 years into this thing, and now we did it. I saw this alone in a theater, had no one to process this with, so I'm looking very forward to this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the time of this recording, it's on YouTube, DVD, Blu-ray. It's around, but I always encourage people to support your local video store like Movie Madness right here in Portland, Oregon. The synopsis is, after a car wreck on the winding Mulholland Drive renders a woman amnesiac, she and a perky Hollywood hopeful search for clues and answers across Los Angeles in a twisting venture beyond dreams and reality. What a synopsis.
Yeah.
I find it demeaning where they call her perky. I don't like that at all. I think she's optimistic, personally, but alright, we'll just go with it. Our director is David Lynch. He did Elephant Man, Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks, Lost Highway, and of course the 2007 short, David Lynch Cooks Quinoa.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
There you go. Our cinematographer is Peter Deming, who did Cabin in the Woods, Scream 2, I Heart Huckabees, Drag Me to Hell, and Joe's Apartment, everybody. Our editor is Mary Sweeney, who's a longtime Lynch collaborator. She's worked on Fire Walk with Me, Twin Peaks, Straight Story, Lost Highway. She didn't edit a lot outside of Lynch, so I think that's really fascinating, because between the cinematographer, who's how you see the thing, and the editor, which is what you don't see, I think that's really an interesting combo, those two. And then our actors, we have Naomi Watts from Birdman, King Kong, The Ring, Twin Peaks The Return, and soon to ruin everyone's evening in the remake of Goodnight Mommy. I don't know if either of you saw the original.
You're remaking that movie?
Yeah, it's done.
Sorry, my voice just destroyed the world.
Yeah, it comes out this year. It's going to be utterly disturbing. Laura Herring is in the film. She's in NCIS, Little Nicky, The Punisher, the American remake of Sarah Marshall's favorite French film, Inside.
Ah! More nightmares.
Sarah Burns,
I
oh, you didn't see Inside? I can't recommend it to you, because when I had Sarah watch it, she punched me in the arm and said, "Fuck you, Dirk Marshall."
I sure did. Sure did. It was like, how could you even think of making me watch this movie?
Yes, there's been similar interactions in our home. We're like, you took my life away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
And then we have Justin Theroux, who was in Zoolander, Wonderlust, The Leftovers TV show, and I Shot Andy Warhol. And of course, all of these people have been in a ton of other things. These are just moments I picked from their career. And the rest we'll discuss as we progress through the film. So let's press play on Mulholland Drive. We start off with foreboding vibes, and then right away, swing dancing, what a treat. It's like, what a pitch shift all of a sudden. I was gonna blame the sequence on Eugene, Oregon's Cherry Poppin' Daddies, but apparently the neo-swing movement was 1989 to mid-late 1990s, so 2001 is still out there a bit.
Have either of you ever danced the jitterbug?
I've never jitterbugged.
Sarah, have you jitterbugged?
No, I've never line danced, and I don't think I've jitterbugged.
Yeah,
Same.
Great.
I don't know that I will at this point. Like, I don't want to shut down opportunities, but I feel like it would be like a jiggle bug. I don't want to.
Sometimes after too many espressos, I feel like a jitterbug, but that's just
yeah. That's my level of jitterbug. Like,
yeah.
Having a crush on the barista next to my art class in college, I would drinking multiple mochas.
Yes.
My best friend was the same. She had a crush on a coffee boy, and so we sure had to drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah. But I go in there and hey, what's going on? My eyebrows starting to merge with my hairline. Thank you so much. I play it cool.
We get an overlay of Naomi Watts, and then two elderly people, and then breathing, and then title card. It's a street sign, and our credits with a lush synth score from, of course, Angela Badalamenti. Am I saying that right?
Badalamenti?
I don't know. I started to question myself. What'd you say, Sarah?
Say it like you mean it.
Angelo Badalamenti.
There you go.
Badalamenti. I fucked it up. But
oh, damn it. We had it all, and now we've lost it.
We've lost it. I'm still pissed about the Goodnight Mommy thing, because she also remade Funny, and I blame her exclusively.
Yeah, Funny Games?
Funny Games. And I saw Goodnight Mommy while I was pregnant.
Oh, no.
And I can't take anyone down for that. It was my own doing. That's on me. But
yeah, I showed Sarah two movies back to back right after we became parents. So we had a little newborn, and one of them was the Paul Dano movie where he's like a child abductor, and then I forget what the other one was, but it was back to back child abduction, and Sarah was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know.
What's wrong with you?"
We watched Witch when my daughter Freya was 3 months old, and I was like, "This is unimaginable." There's another movie that I was like, I got up angrily. It's an Australian film. I was like, "This is your shit." Like, I was so angry. Not he was shit, but
was it Coming Home in the Dark?
No, it's
because they straight up kill kids in that movie. It's gnarly.
I didn't know that one. I'm usually for most of my life, I've been shielded from animal cruelty. Anything like.
Oh yeah, you watched Cannibal Holocaust then?
Yeah. I like to sit down. I'm Freya, and I watch that together. I'll watch any murder show. Sure. People can get murdered, but kids and animals, don't you dare.
Yeah, we get a car crash scene in the film, and the brunette actress survives and walks down a hill in chunky heels. Now, there's a lot of chunky heels in this film, and I don't recall this being a case in 2001. Am I misremembering the footwear of the early 2000s?
I wasn't a kitten. I feel like I had a bunch of kitten heels.
Nice.
Aspirational kitten heels.
I remember chunky heels being more in the 90s.
Yeah,
so
right?
Maybe they're just carrying it into it, but I've never really been able to walk in heels. I was once in this pageant, and they had a section called Poise and Composure, and you had to walk in what we called at the time pumps. We didn't even call them heels. And I was so bad at it. And of course it's on film, and if I ever really want to embarrass myself, I'll watch it again, but I'm not a heel walker.
Yeah.
I want to be. I love them, and I have some, but I've had them where I'm like, I wore once to a party, and within 10 minutes I was like, I couldn't concentrate on anything. I had to be helped out of them. I walked around the party for the rest of the evening. It was at the Roosevelt Hotel. It was a premiere. I was walking around in slippers provided by the hotel.
Yeah.
I couldn't get my shoes back on, so I had to leave the party in the slippers like an animal, or an animal that wears slippers. But boots are like the heel of the day.
Yeah. When Sarah and I were first together, we lived in a small apartment right on college campus, and I always, every once in a while, just had to force myself out of my comfort zone, and so that would be either plays or improv classes, whatever, because I would be very insulated, very comfortable by myself, and so I would force myself into situations. And so I went to some one acts, and I got cast in two, and both of them involved cross-dressing. And so the first time Sarah saw me perform was on stage in a dress and heels, but before that, she got to watch me walk around our apartment in heels trying to figure out how to do it. And it's very
Yeah.
difficult.
He was practicing, and I was like, I have no help for you. Like, I can't help you other than that. If you fall down, I will pick you up. That is it.
That's it, or I'll laugh. I think there's a trick. It's either you do it, you walk on the balls of your feet, or you walk on the heels of your feet.
I thought those were the same thing, so I'm terrible already.
I had a phase in college when I went to school in San Francisco and I wore chunky heels.
Oh,
There you go.
I could walk in them, but it's because I think when you're so young, you're impervious to the cold. You have
Mhm.
no idea. You'll be soaking wet, freezing cold, boiling hot. And you're like, I look cool and I'm having fun and I'm drinking beer. So I didn't know any better.
Well, someone who also doesn't know any better is Robert Forrester and Brent Briscoe, who are the two cops that show up in the scene. And I love their banter. There's a great line, or any of those dead kids wearing pearl earrings, which is pretty awesome.
The boys found this on the floor in back of the caddy.
Yeah, you showed me.
Could be unrelated.
Could be. Any of those dead kids wearing pearl earrings?
No. Could be someone's missing, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking.
I wish we got more of them in the movie, which is strange, but next the brunette lady hides in a woman's house, and then we're at Winky's, which is my favorite scene of the movie. It's the scene that lives on in my brain. This sequence is horrific, and they go outside. There's all these little things. Patrick Fisher's character doesn't eat his breakfast. He's not there to eat the breakfast, but the other character, Michael Cook, has ate his entire thing. He's finished his coffee and everything. The dread in this scene is utterly insane. And why is it handheld? They're sitting at a booth and it should just be a two-shot or something, but it's floating. The camera work is uneasy, and it adds to the palpable, unnerving thing that Lynch does so well in movies, where you're just suddenly like, oh, I'm not okay with what's happening, which is, oh, it's so good. And they go out, and then as Sarah Marshall said, there's a bum behind a dumpster that we get a flash of. It's a shot that I don't think any of us will ever forget. It's Bonnie Aarons who plays the nun in Conjuring 2 and all the nun movies. She's the head vampire in Jacob's Wife. She's excellent in all of those roles, but holy smokes, this thing.
She's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. So terrifying. And it came back to me before I even saw it again.
I was watching it and I was like, oh no, I hate this scene. I hate it. I love it, but I hate it.
Yeah, it's...
She's so good at being terrifying.
Yeah, so good.
I mean, it's funny what she looks like in real life because she's
Yeah.
a gorgeous woman, but the nun and that is the most. I remember like that coming out and like, I can't believe this is happening. I was convinced I was seeing her across the room. I was like, damn it, I've done it again. But that scene. I actually met that actor.
Patrick Fischler?
Well, I was like, walked by him and went, oh my God. I'm like, oh, that's how I did it.
I'm aware that your profession is acting and you play different roles, but I've never seen him after this and thought he's okay. I'm always like, that poor guy. He saw the lady behind the dumpster.
It's just, she came out of nowhere. And I just kind of imploded. I exploded from the inside. Yeah.
And those scenes, they're my favorite thing about David Lynch. This is what he does to us, is he invades our bodies and our mind all at once, because he does such a good job of incorporating the sounds. I mean, you know what it's like to sit in that diner. You know what it's like to go out and be talking about this intense dream that you had and feel the dread that it might actually be there and then it is there. And then he dies of a heart attack. But you can feel all those things. And I think it is because of the camera work, Dirk, which you brought up. I think it is because of the music and just the way that he picks the right actors to show you what terrifying feels like is so perfect. He does it every time, where if he wants you to feel this scared feeling, you see it through the person that's playing that role. He's so good at it.
This film is kind of mesmerizing because he flits into that thing where you feel uneasy and your center of gravity almost is thrown off of him. And the way he chooses actresses to look similar to each other, but he's swapping them out. I feel like you're always changing your center of gravity. Like you're trying to constantly readjust. So you're uneasy. It's a very active film watching experience. And you're just constantly questioning and thinking like, what's he telling me right now? I love him.
I feel like he also, it's not hard to watch. There's directors I love that do very experimental things where it's so hard for someone to watch it, but this is like kind of a neo-noir situation thing that I think people that like detective films or whatnot could watch it and still, they might not love the obtuse, weird Lynchian corners of it, but I don't think it's hard to watch at all. And I think it very much pulls you in with how visually stunning the shots are. Like the next scene with we get the mysterious men who are getting a phone call and calling from other mysterious men, and it's Michael J. Anderson, who we love from Twin Peaks.
Hello?
The girl is still missing.
And then we get a shot of a red lampshade, which Spicy Marshall, I think we had friends that were obsessed with the color of the lampshades in this film, wasn't it? Mulholland
Yeah,
Drive?
so that was the thing that when I was talking about earlier, having conversations with friends about it and trying to figure out what was going on. And I remember the first thing of like, maybe like, I don't understand. Is it a dream? What's happening? And he was like, well, you just have to pay attention to the names and the lighting. And I was like, okay. I don't, and like, I had my notepad, because we didn't have computers back then. And I wrote down all the different lights that were happening and everyone's names. And so that was like probably my first, Sarah, when you said you did a diagram, that was my first diagram into it of trying to figure out what the hell he was trying to tell me. What my friend was trying to tell me, like to pay attention to. And that the lighting was like the first thing, lighting and then people's names changing. Because I think the first time I watched it, I didn't even really understand that that's what was happening because there's just so much other stuff that my brain wasn't even picking up on. Oh, wait, these are different characters.
Yes. But sometimes it's weird the way at one point they change up Naomi Watts' hairdo to look like one of the waitresses at Winkies. And so it's like these dreams, a lot of people come to LA for this one shared dream, but we're all interchangeable and it's such fucking hell. And it's like a hellish nightmare, but anyway, I'm getting way ahead.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. We'll jump around a lot, but
yeah, I have a question for Sarah because you brought it up. We see how she comes to LA. I want to know how you got to LA.
Get out of my brain. That's my next question.
That's funny. I was thinking about this last night. I came to LA. I was performing in New York at this improv theater, Upper Citizens Brigade, and I had gone and done like a little television and most notably Flight of the Conchords. And then I got this audition for the movie I Love You Man, and I came out to audition for the producers and read with Rashida Jones because I was going to be playing her best friend. And I came out the night before my audition, and I had a very similar experience to the way Betty arrives. Like I wasn't, not her audition experience. But
Two old people?
I went in and immediately began making out face to face with everyone. But and there was a woman sleeping in mine. But I stayed with friends and I went to this place, Sunset Gower Studios, but it was this building next to Sunset Gower Studios. And I parked across the street illegally in the parking lot for this place called Gower Gulch, which is this old Hollywood looking kind of shopping strip mall area. It's just like one of those artifacts from another time in Hollywood when this made aesthetic sense. It no longer does. But I parked in there, walked in and checked in at the front and was going in to meet Allison Jones, the casting director. And as I did, I passed by another casting director and she was like, well, welcome to Hollywood, Sarah Burns.
What?
And I think she asked me for my headshot. And of course, I'm such an animal. I was like, I don't have one, of course. Like I probably gave her some ridiculous like pen drawing. And then I went up and met Allison Jones and she turned the corner and was like, hello, Sarah Burns. And I felt like I've arrived. And she worked with me for my audition. And then I went in the next day and met producers and directors and then waited. The waiting was starting to kill me. And I went over to my friend's house and we drank a ton of wine. And I just was sitting like on the ground and just tilted back and slept until the morning in their living room, and then got the call that I got the part. It felt like this dreamy thing. And I thought, oh, this is Hollywood. I'm in Hollywood and I'll just probably own a jet in like 5 minutes. And And I was new to the city,
Mhm.
and I was been able to capitalize on someone's moment of poor judgment and get into that part. So, but
I
it did feel like that.
That's so fantastic. And wow, I think in lieu of my notes, I feel like we should just open it up about Mulholland Drive because Lynch works in such a dreamy, wondrous way. And like Sarah Burns, you said, like you're like, I'm jumping all over the place. Why would we stick to a narrative, really? So let's just go to well, I don't want to miss this. So my next favorite thing that happens is we see the two old people in the car grinning ear to ear for 2 minutes, which is is funny and also terrifying. And then we arrive at the apartment complex and we meet Ann Miller, who plays Coco, and we get the great kangaroo quote.
Wilkins, if that damn dog craps in the courtyard one more time, I'm just gonna bake his little butt for breakfast. You don't have any pets, do you?
Oh, no, I don't.
Well, they're allowed. I just don't like them here for obvious reasons. You know, there was a man that lived here once that had a prize-fighting kangaroo. Well, you just wouldn't believe what that kangaroo did to this courtyard.
Anne started in Anna of Green Gables in 1934, so I love seeing her in this movie. She'd been in 50-something films, but very big ones in early days of cinema. It's great that she has this part. I would have loved to see her at a premiere of some sort. I just think it's the sweetest.
Did she die before the film came out?
I think so.
Yeah, she's unnerving because she has a different style of acting, and that's why I like having her in it.
Yes, same.
Because it's like a cut up, because there is no linear time in dreams.
Right.
You know, 1 minute you're trying to open the elevator door, and next minute you're soaking wet. It's not my dream. It's my fantasy. My fantasy. I just shared my fantasy with you. Okay. There you go. That's what makes me tick.
Boat elevators.
I just love them. I love boat elevators. Okay, fine. Shit.
Your secrets are revealed to the world, Sarah.
I said I wasn't going to do this because I'll be pigeonholed, but whatever, it's fine.
Also, just to say about Coco, she's also the only person who is her same self in the dream and versus reality world. Her character is exactly the same outfit, same name, while everyone else is a little different person.
Yeah, even when Justin reveals that it's his mom,
yeah,
her name's still Coco.
It's still Coco. Yeah, she's the only
That's a great
character
point.
that is
I
that.
didn't even...
That's a good point. That's interesting. She's shorter with Betty. Wait, no, because at that point she's Diane, right? When she meets Coco
Later, yeah.
at the dinner party.
At the party, she's a
She's
second
shorter.
character. Yeah.
Because so much of our dreams are reality, but so much of them, like, it's like fantasy with this little belly button. It's like a
fantasy with a belly button.
Well, I don't know where I'm going with this. It's like it's one of these things I'll do. Like, I got an idea. Let me run with it until I chase it to the end. I'm like, that was raving nonsense. But you're like, yeah, I'm gonna cut it short.
You're like, why is my belly button wet in this elevator?
Okay, that's also. I like to only wear crop tops. I love a crop top.
And chunky heels.
Chunky heels, crop top, soaking wet socks.
The next scene we get is Justin Theroux as a director, and they're recasting a role. This entire scene makes me so uncomfortable, the way the men are all talking to each other.
There are some suggestions that are to be brought forward. And I know you said you would entertain suggestions. And that's all anybody here is asking you to do.
What are you talking about?
An open mind. You're in the process of recasting your lead actress, and we're asking you to keep an open mind.
And then we get something that I think is so wonderful, which is the man spitting out the espresso, which is Angelo Badalamenti.
That's him.
That's him.
Oh, that's exciting.
Isn't that cool? I had no idea. I'd seen this hundreds of times.
That's wild. His music is incredible. Apparently he can take the smallest sip of espresso and spit it out for 3.5 minutes. Like he was like, and then
so
it's just
gross.
like a water main break.
I would love to see the outtakes if Lynch was giving him directions in Lynchian way of like, more like a giraffe, or like whatever he
Yeah.
would say.
I think he had to, because that's like his thing. Twin Peaks, it was the creamed corn, like
Oh, yeah.
spitting out.
Oh.
And if these things, he's got something with that where he's like, no, you can't. Because if he would have just spit it out and been like, bleh, nobody would care. It would just be like, oh yeah, he didn't like it. But its low spit is worse.
Yes.
It's more grotesque. It's more like, I read somewhere once, the reason why clowns tend to be universally frightening is because they're grotesque, their mouths and their eyes. We all know your eyes and your mouth and your nose are a certain ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
Your fatio.
The face ratio. It's a pretty cool concept. But it's too weird because you would take a small sip and be like, but he's just spitting it over and over again. I just think it's...
And then who has to clean that up? Somebody has to deal with that napkin. And I feel like my response was much different during COVID than normal, because I was like, oh, there's so much germs and coffee on that napkin, and now that wait staff has to deal with it, and he doesn't even have a mask and gloves on.
Yeah. Well, and
isn't that weird? We were watching an animated thing recently, and these giant monsters were in this giant stadium. The stadium was enormous. The stadium was packed. It was a cartoon. And I was like, oh God, that's too much. That's just too much for me. And it's like, I'm never going to be in an animated, I mean, maybe some psychedelic, but I probably won't. I probably won't end up in an animated stadium, but I was still so freaked out because there's just so many people breathing and sharing air.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and in this movie, the cup is right there. The obvious choice is have him spit it back in the cup, but instead he spits it so visibly on the napkin for so long. It's incredible. And the next sequence that I think is unbelievable is the sequence with Mike Pellegrino and Vincent Castellanos, where Ed has the famous black book.
That's unheard of. An accident like that, who could have foreseen that, man? It's unreal, right? Yeah. Unbelievable, man. What's up, bro? God, you look good. What have you been doing? Yeah, just doing some stuff for this guy. Yeah? Yeah. Are you making ends meet? Hardly. I know, man. Look at my digs. Times are tough, bro. Hey, man, it's not that bad. Gee, I hope you're not gonna get into any trouble.
Oh, that was just a thing, man. But that story, that made you laugh, right?
That was a funny story, man.
Fucking car accident.
Hey, so that's it, huh? That's Ed's famous black book.
The history of the world. And phone numbers.
Mike Pellegrino shoots Ed. When he's wiping the gun off, it shoots through a wall, hits a lady who has the best line where she's like, "Something bit me bad," and then
Something bit me bad.
and then they struggle to get her back into the room where he can kill her. Meanwhile, the janitor sees him, or vacuum man as he's known in the credits. Then he comes in, and then they end up shorting the power. It's this comedic scene that's like, it's so great, and it's so weird it's in this movie. It's one of the weird tonal shifts that make it, I think, fun to watch it rather than like a labor.
I had a thought, because this is something that happens to me. I sometimes return to dream sets where I've been in this setup before in my dream. Maybe it's a little different, but something's happening. And I'm like, I've been in this city before. It only exists in my mind. It's almost like David Lynch is using these moments that are two guys chatting about, like, can't believe I told you that story. You're not getting into trouble, are you? No, it's fine. And it's a scene we've seen. The actor wants work from his agent, and the agent's like, I don't have much right now. Stuff's crazy. And then a scene where a crime goes wrong. Why are we in this moment? Why are we on David Lynch? Is he trying to tell us something? Or
right.
Is this like a palate cleanser between like when the guy who does the shooting with the two different colored eyes, we see him again, and he's with his girlfriend with bruises and maybe like a pimp or something. What's happening here? This is just like a scene that we've seen, but why are we seeing it now?
Well, and Mike says something to Ed before he kills him about a car wreck, or maybe it's Ed says something about Mike's story, but the movie starts with a car wreck. So then I was like, but does Mike know that he's already looking for that lady, or was he in the other car, one of the cars that didn't collide with the wreck? I just, in the last viewing, I was like, wait, why are they talking about a wreck? And that's the fun thing about movies like this, is that Lynch will have just one word or something where that'll point you in a different direction. And then you're like, wait. Oh, God, I have to rethink everything.
Can we redo this podcast multiple times
Yeah.
and watch it like we turn to each other, like we'll have long beards and we'll be like, I got it.
I finally understand. Well, I was looking up about the Black Book because it doesn't come back into play, really. I thought it would be more important, and then it got me thinking on who would even have a book these days. Now it would be like some file, and like there wouldn't be
phone,
this
right?
mysterious Black Book. But I guess the book was supposed to be in relation to, that was when all the Heidi Fleiss, the woman who had all these famous directors' names in it that were sleeping with people. And I think it was just supposed to give us the idea that there's all this corruption amongst the people making decisions in Hollywood and that there's these secrets to be kept. But I didn't get any of that from the book being in existence, but that's what the internet tells me.
That's interesting. I thought that too. It made it look like there's such corruption behind decisions and that the director just has to learn to be like, because during Betty's audition, the director's checked out.
Yeah.
He doesn't pay attention, and his response to her performance was like, it feels too forced, I think. And it was the most explosive, natural, intense, chemistry-laden moment. And it was like, oh yeah, directors mean nothing. Maybe that's how David Lynch, because he does everything outside on his own, thank goodness, Although I'd love to see him do something within his way, have him do an episode of Big Bang Theory's not still on, but like something like that.
He brings it back for one episode.
Did you guys ever see, it's out there somewhere, I think it's very hard to find. He did a television show and it's about a radio station.
Oh, yeah. I forget the name of it. Oh, gosh. I saw it so long ago.
It's great and bananas.
Yeah, it's really... His version of reality is still very much a dream, except for Straight Story, which is pretty straightforward.
It is almost like he told us, I'm just going to tell you the straight story here. Yeah. He does so much with transcendental meditation, and he and his wife, Emily Lynch, run a transcendental meditation, but they offer it to children, especially children who are underprivileged. I've never done that, but I'm so fascinated.
Yeah.
It just seems like...
Yeah, it seems like if you're going to try it, you might as well try it with David Lynch, right?
Oh, yeah. I honestly would try squid cocktail with David Lynch. Sure. I'm the expert. I'm like, all right.
Something else that transcends film is that Billy Ray Cyrus is in this movie.
God bless him.
And I just want to know why. Like, why? I think if Billy Ray Cyrus, if I was going to be a casting director and I was going to cast Billy Ray Cyrus in a part, I would have cast him as the cowboy, right? I mean, like...
Right.
But he's not. He's like a pool guy, adulterer who is also very kind, right?
He's a very old pool
very,
guy,
very
too.
Kind. Come on, man. You can't treat your wife like that.
Yeah.
He says, like...
He's like rational, but he's having an affair with...
It's so strange.
Sarah, I wanted to ask about, because Dirk brought up the casting, and there's two different casting scenes, one reality, one not reality. And the one dream one is in this, what looks like a lawyer's office, where it's very fancy and clearly of wealth. Everything is made of wood paneling, and there's the wait staff bringing stuff in. And then there's the other one that's just a bunch of people crammed in a tiny office. And I just want to know, because I've never been to a casting call, what kind of room are you being brought into?
I've been in so many different rooms. I've been in a small room in a trailer. I did one audition in a hotel on a Sunday and was like, I can't believe that I said, but my agent said it was okay. It wasn't, I just answered notice. But anybody, I would never do that again. But it was like on the up and up because I was sent there. I didn't answer a call in a newspaper. I've been in offices where I've stood next to someone's desk. The time I stood in the trailer, it was, I think, on Warner Brothers lot during pilot season, and they're just trying to grab any space. I was standing over the people I was auditioning for, and they were on a very small couch. I blew the audition. It was like the worst audition I've ever done. There's one place in LA, it's in the beautiful little house, and you sit in what would be the living room, and they're in what would be the bedroom, and you can hear everything that's happening in the next room. I've been in wide open furniture-less rooms. And I've been doing them lately in my bedroom.
Right? Over Zoom and stuff?
Yeah. Or I tape them and send them. And I've only done one live audition over Zoom. That was fun. But it was weird because it was the first time I'd be interacting with people outside of my home. So I was like, I'm going to do this. But then it was fine. I feel like I've been really far away from people at the other side of a conference table or really close to people. And I once was waiting for an audition, and I could hear the person auditioning, and I could hear the playback as they were editing the auditions together in another room. And I was like, well, what the hell am I like? I have no idea how to like distinguish myself from anyone because
now you're just going to do what you heard, right?
Yeah, go in and just parrot the last thing, or go in like crazy voice, and I'm gonna put my knee in my shoes. And, I don't know.
You're gonna dwarf on golf the situation?
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. Because honestly, Tim Conway.
Yeah.
You're gonna like rip anybody's comedy. He's awesome.
Everyone would be like, it was pretty offensive, but.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
she went for it, so that's good. She also gets her audition pages faxed to her apartment complex. How do you get your audition pages?
I get them through email. That would be so. Imagine that.
They're not faxed to your landlord?
Yes, my landlord, my lovely landlord, is really rad, actually. I remember thinking, it's such a beautiful, you're welcome to Hollywood, madam. Can we get you water or coffee? And, you know, a lot of times people, when you're auditioning for them, they do want to give you the best experience possible so you can do your best. Not everyone's like that, but they realize casting directors in this business really they're awesome. They are the gatekeepers, and they really hook you up. They rarely get thanked too in award speeches. Right. I'm like, oh, that's surprising because I feel so taken care of by them. But no, I get them. My agents or managers will send me an email.
My next question is about lines, because Betty runs lines with Rita. Do you run lines with your partner? What's your process? Is it a private thing? Only if you want to share how you cook your quinoa.
I don't mind telling you how I cook my quinoa. Always too much water, and it still dries out. But my lines, I have a process. I have to write them. My handwriting has become horrific because I write them really quickly. But if I can write them, I can get them in my memory. And then I like to run them a lot. I enjoy that. If I'm working, I write them, and I have to write them when I'm sitting in my trailer before I go onto set. If I don't, I feel completely thrown. It's like a weird, I used to, so I don't know if I used to always wear a certain type of underwear when I did improv. And I felt like if I ever didn't, it would go like to shit. And then one day I changed it up, and I was like, oh, that's bonkers. Nothing changed. It's just like my thing. It's like people wear sturdy socks throughout the whole sport time, the season.
That's how I think people are before you go into whatever it is that you're nervous about. Is like you think about it for you like write your things down, you have a certain outfit. And that was the thing I thought was a little wild about when she's going and she's like, I have my call in an hour, and she just like rushes. And I mean, I would have like had the underwear I was going to wear laid out. I would have had my outfit laid out. I would have been ready hours before, just like sitting there sweatily waiting to go. Yeah. Probably outside of the building. Okay, this is my big interview.
And still late. Still, this is my thing. No matter how much I prep, I'm still... Well, I'm wondering about what it's going to be like to go back to live auditions. And I think I'll be very upfront about it when I go in the room. Like, I haven't been around people like this in a while, so I'm probably going to stink it up. I did that after I had my daughter. I went in, I was like, it's my first audition back. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm probably leaking milk, and I want to sleep. And I was just charmed them so much that they ushered me to the door as swiftly as possible. But
that brings me to my next question, which is in the scene where she goes in for the audition with the creepy old man makeout. They're like offering her beverages and things, and that's something we always see in stuff, is that they're like, the rule is don't accept the beverage or do accept the beverage. Like, how do you navigate that kind of stuff? Do you even think about it?
You know, if I did, I'd go into like a K-hole.
Right.
I don't know. I know sometimes some of the things they'll say too is, I feel like I overshare a lot of times, but I do that in every aspect of my life. Giovanni and I will go out to dinner. He's like, you don't have to tell them that, you know, you're getting your knee replaced. I haven't got my knee, like whatever. And I'm like, I'm not gonna, man. The person walks up to the table and is like, do you want water? I'm like, getting my knee replaced. And then like halfway through, I'll be like, no, go back to him. You've only been happy when you were like, I'll know their life story. And I'm like, Raymond, if you don't call Eric right now, I will. Like, that's how every dinner ends up. So I didn't answer your question. I just displayed my insanity.
I constantly overshare as well, but it'll be at a farmer's market, and it'll be like talking to somebody, and they'll be like, yeah, the rutabagas are this much, and I'm like, did you see the movie Cruel Jaws? Because it's 3 different shark movies cut into this, and they're like, what did you... I'm like, I just talk about what I want to talk about, I guess.
Yeah.
I only talk about movies.
I think they tell you too, when you're going in for auditions, not everybody wants to shake your hand. And so I go in, I try to not get overstep bound. I definitely am a people pleaser. I've learned to make many decisions based in fears because a lot of my craziness is going to come out. So if I don't make any decisions about being weird, sometimes they'll say like, don't wear too much perfume. They don't want to smell you, or that's fine. I remember to put deodorant on. It's like a win. So
I like that they don't want to smell you is a good method of, okay, got it.
You're going to smell me if I don't wear perfume. So it's your choice, my friend.
When you go into an audition, how much of yourself do you bring to it? Because I feel like
that's a good
the
point.
roles that you play, there's always parts of you in there. Do you go in like, this is me? Or do you have to tone it down a certain way? Or what do you do?
I feel like I bring way too much of myself into the room. I walk in and I'm just like continuing the conversation I was having with myself. And one time I went in, I drove to the audition, I was parking and I was in this tiny little rental car in LA and I saw a spot. So I started to like do a turn around and this guy just drove in and parked in the middle of the 2 spots available. And I pulled up next to him. I was like, could you move up a bit just to make room? And he said something very like, it's not my problem. And I said, oh, could you do me a favor later? And he was like, what? And I was like, could you go fuck yourself? And he was like, oh, and like, but then he pulled up, which I was like, I own your ass. And so I pulled into the spot and I was like, what a jerk. And I can't believe I said that. I was just like, yeah. And then I went into the room and I was auditioning for the part of someone who was supposed to be kind of quiet or meeker. And I told that story. Oh, also, I 150,000% decided, shit, that's one of the people I'm auditioning for. As I walked out of my car, I was like, that dude is going to decide my future, I bet you. But I went in and I told that story and then I had to switch to like, oh. And for whatever reason, I didn't get the part. But I remember thinking like, maybe that wouldn't have been the story to tell. Maybe talk about how you craft wreaths for mice or something, something very cute.
Yeah.
I realize that I don't have that kind of experience where I have to go in and perform, but sometimes I do things where there is a casting director, but it's usually just to talk about me and who I am. So my only experience was job interviews. So when you go into a job interview, you're trying to just portray professionalism and you're like, I can take anything that comes my way, and it's just like this kind of calm thing. But I realized I did that for a TV show, and that's not what they were wanting. They were wanting me to be this entertainer that was going to lure the camera in. And so as soon as I got done, I was like, I just totally blew that because I was doing the wrong thing. But both things are myself, but it's just there's a big difference between doing a job interview and doing a TV job interview.
What's cool though is that you'll take that to the next audition for, that'd be so cool too if you were a chef on a that would be like incredible.
Yeah, if any casting directors are listening, I would love to. I would like another shot, please.
To all the casting directors listening, please recall I did refer to you as the gatekeepers who hook up. So I'm just saying.
There it is.
But you learn from that audition experience because you went, okay, well, they wanted to see if you're going to go out for reality television, you're not going to be like, well, I'm in bed by 9. And
that's sure what I did.
A good read, nothing too much. I like a good big font. You're going to go in there and be like, I locked myself in my garage for 8 months and learned how to eat dirt, whatever. But we're not talking about my life story. So they want the crazy. Mm-hmm. They want the splat. The next time you'll go in and you'll it's very different from a job. In job interviews, you're like, yes, I like compact discs. Mm-hmm. It's so different.
This duality that we're talking about of getting a job for who you are, but also being like, I could be whatever you want also, is interesting because when they find the corpse in this movie, who is the corpse, do you think? Is it Rita? Is it Betty? Because Betty wakes up from the bed at one point, but the corpse doesn't really look like Naomi Watts. Does anyone have any opinions on the corpse? And while you're thinking, We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Feeding. Everyone's got to do it, even vampires. But if you aren't a vampire, or a baby vampire, then sometimes eating can become so repetitive and boring. Which is where Marshall's Hot Sauce comes in. Liven up any meal with those small batch sauces made from only the freshest ingredients. From the sweet, mild heat of smoked habanero barbecue to the addictive serrano ginger lemongrass, or even my two personal favorites, habanero carrot curry and bird's eye basil. In fact, Marshall's Hot Sauce even has a new line of seasonings, including an incredible barbecue rub, a chicken marinade, and even a volcano sparkle that a vampire could eat. The best part is that you can enter VHS Podcast at checkout for 20% off. That's right, liven up those meals and wake up those undead taste buds at marshallshotsauce.com. That's Marshall's, Haute sauce.com. And enter VHS Podcast for 20% off. And now, back to the show. And we're back! We've deliberated for hours.
Thank you so much. I was able to get my taxes done.
Yes. Oh, good. That's early, I think, but great. Anybody?
I can say what I think.
Okay, give it to me.
But it's confusing. So I think the corpse is Diane, which is what we've come to know as Betty.
Yeah.
Right? So Betty, Diane. So I think it's Diane. This isn't a movie where I have to worry about spoiling anything, right? Here's my jam.
No.
I think that Diane kills herself in the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's her seeing herself dead in her regular life apartment. She's pre-seeing it.
Do you think the way people are swapped out in the film and the way it can feel sometimes to be an actress is that you're interchangeable?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm not a name like, oh, we got to have Nicole Kidman. No one's like, gotta have Sarah Burns. It's like, if I'm available or someone else can do, or someone's big, you can be swapped out. And he kind of almost had this thought, why wasn't Billy Ray Cyrus the cowboy? It's almost like he swapped the people out so that you're thinking that's not perfect casting, but it is in his world, in his mind. There were times where I was like, we're watching the actress of Hollywood arrive, succeed, fall in love, leave her person, cheat on her person, or leave her for another person, and then fail and then kill herself. So is it all that they're the same woman, just like two sides? Oh my God, it's
so good.
I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Like it gets sweaty.
Yeah, they also...
Yeah, nothing about the movie, just all the time. It's a constant.
They also go to a theater called Silencia, and in this scene, I partially remember because the man says trombone sardine, which is either a ska band or a sex move.
Yeah.
Which means it's time to play a game. Sarah Burns, are you ready to play ska band or sex-related term?
Oh, please. I was born for this moment.
Okay. Number one, we're going to wade into this one. So, number one.
Okay.
Real Big Fish.
Fish. Yeah, ska band.
Yeah, ska band from California. Number two, Doppelbanger. Ska band or sex-related term?
Sex-related term.
Correct. It's when you have sex with someone who looks just like you, but you're not related.
Ooh, freaky.
Oh. Yeah, doppelbanger.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Number three, boofers. Is it a ska band or a sex-related term? Boofers.
Boofers? Oh, that better be a sex term.
It's a sex term. A boofer or boofering is when you introduce drugs to your partner's anus. My favorite part of that is introduce. Boofer.
You're just like, hey, guys, I want you guys to meet. You're like, what are you doing back there? You leave me out of the party. Shh,
this is a really important introduction I have to make.
Look, it's just like, I've been trying to get you guys together for so long. But timing is such a pain in the ass.
Oh, man. Number four, steamy dumpling. Ska band or sex-related term? Ugh.
I know I know from experience that's no, I'm just kidding. That sounds like a sex thing again.
It does, but that's the problem with this game. It's a Germany ska band. It's a ska band from Germany, the Steamy Dumpling.
Steamy Dumpling.
There it is. Number five, Wham, as in WAM, standing for Wet and messy.
I'm gonna guess ska band simply because the prudence of making it letters, not.
I like the way you're thinking. It's a fetish for being covered in paint or food. Wet and messy.
That would be my nightmare.
Yeah.
I have a rule in my house, like no food related jokes. I don't want things like on me. And this is for everyone in the household. Like, don't spit stuff out and try to make me laugh. It's not gonna make me. It's gonna make me angry.
There you go.
So
Number 6, porkers. Ska band or sex-related term?
Both.
I mean, you're probably right. It's an Australian ska band, but I'm pretty sure people use that in the bedroom. Number 7, loin groin.
Loin groin.
Loin groin. Ska band or sex-related term?
Ska band?
It's a ska band from Australia. Yes, correct.
Loin groin.
Oh, number 8, I'm crying. Number 8, apple dumpling shop. Ska band or a sex-related term?
I'm thinking ska band.
That's a great choice. It's an ancient English term for breasts.
The apple dumpling shop.
Yes. Good golly, that
Couldn't make
lady
it
had
any-
a great apple dumpling shop, didn't she?
Couldn't make it any
God,
longer.
what like that's repression, or maybe that's
Yeah.
like humor. I'm gonna say it squarely could be either.
Or
Like,
someone who doesn't know where
oh.
apples come from, I guess.
I was born with them. And have to, yeah.
Like a kid that first noticed breasts and he's like, what are those? And the mom's like, that's a apple dumpling shop. I'm not sure. I'm not comfortable with
Yeah,
this
she
line of
just was
questions.
like, and then later she's telling her friend, she's like, I don't know, I totally panicked.
I said apple dumpling shop?
Nathan was like, what is it? And I said apple dumpling shop. Everyone's like, oh my God.
Don't worry, it probably won't catch on.
Yeah, no. He'll forget about it. Kids are resilient, honey. Don't even worry. Besides, we're all gonna die of the plague.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Yeah.
Number 9, Edna's Goldfish. Ska band?
That's a band.
Yes, ska band from Long Island. And number 10, the Amphetamines.
The amphetamines?
Amphetamines.
That definitely sounds like a ska band.
Yes, it's a ska band. They may sound like boofers, but they're a ska band from Scotland.
Oh, great. I'm from Long Island, so maybe that's why I
You knew
knew
Edna's
my
Goldfish?
way around this.
That's one of the few bands that I actually heard their music of when I was setting up this game. Is I was like, what's that Goldfish band sound like? And it sounds like ska, actually.
I auditioned for something recently and there was a ska joke in it. I was like, this person gets it. Whoever wrote it, I forget what. It was just so ska.
Yeah. Did they have chunky heels on?
So many chunky heels. I went to see this band called The Selector once. And
That's one of the bands I almost put on here.
the lady was so cool. There were like these guys dressed as skinheads in the audience and that pissed her off. It pissed everyone off. And then they were like pushing everyone around. And she was like, stop it. And she stopped the show and was like, stop what you're doing. It was so weird and gross. And she was so cool. Like, I just was neat.
There you go.
But my first and last moment of ska.
Well, you did
Until the
excellent
thing.
at the game. I mean,
Yeah.
you really nailed it.
Yeah, you won.
You won. You won the game.
That's me. Okay. Just still the same person you knew. I just.
Now you're a
nailed
winner.
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm a wanker. That's actually the best. That's like the best. That's the most ska perfect response.
Back in the film, we see an entire a cappella performance where everyone's crying and then the singer collapses.
Yo estaba bien por un tiempo, volviendo a sonreír. Luego anoche te vi, tu mano me tocó y el saludo de tu voz.
And it seems like they're going to be just thrown away. So I think that totally links back to what you're saying about watching someone come to Hollywood, all the different paths that their life could take. We get more stuff with the box and blue keys and going into the box and people changing bodies. And if you're confused, I know a lot of the listeners don't even watch these movies. It's supposed to be confusing, I think.
It reminded me a lot of Quentin Tarantino. I feel like in an interesting way, poaches a lot of our film vocabulary. Like he can use stuff, and I feel like David Lynch does it in like maybe even Quentin Tarantino was poaching this move of David Lynch taking familiar moments in film and twisting them and using them to like converse with us. But I hope that made sense.
Yeah.
But the box, it reminded me of the briefcase in Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that came out sooner, but not that I think David Lynch would use that, but it just made me think like, oh yeah, what's Pandora's box? Like, you know, just like you open up and all these nightmares came out. It's so interesting. God damn it.
I totally agree. And the rest of the film is pretty insane. There's lots more swapping. It feels repetitive for me to even tell the listeners what's happening, but it's not repetitive. It's just very twisted and turny. So we already touched on the fact that she kills herself, and then we see the last woman that was singing now has blue hair, and she's in the audience of Silencio, and she says, Silencio. And then the movie ends, and you're just like, what? Okay, that's that movie. I'll probably never watch it again, and yet we can't stop watching.
That's all you do.
Yeah.
I wrote something down after watching the Silencio scene, and it was because it's like in that scene they say like there is no band, no bando. I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
But if we want to hear a clarinet, we hear it, and it's like our dreams and our delusions are what kind of keep us sane. Like I have to tell myself I can keep going at this crazy job. Like, don't worry, Burns, you got this. Like, keep going. It's an insane gamble, delusion, dream, but this is what keeps us going. But then when you start to look at life, it's an absolute nightmare. I mean, there's even a very small moment where they see this poster that says Hollywood is hell.
Yeah.
I noticed that for the first time last night, but I'm blowing like many things at you right now. But I just feel like if we want to hear a clarinet, we hear it. If we want to see something happy in this moment, we see it. If we want to perceive a connection between ourself and the director when she walks into the screen testing bits, you know, where she's like, oh, wow. And he's like, who are you? And he keeps turning around when he has to say, that's the girl.
Yeah.
If we want to see that, did that happen? Maybe not. Because the next time we see him together, he's like stealing love of her life. And it's so interesting.
I think it's so true. And I feel like that's such an important thing to put out there because with your career and also Sarah Marshall with you, it's like maybe this did happen, but I don't think somebody said, hey, why don't you put yourself out there as an actor? Why don't you, Sarah, write a book or start your own business or whatever? But you wanted to hear the clarinet, and so you heard the clarinet. Like, you went in that direction. And I think for a lot of people, we put noise-canceling headphones on and we don't follow our dreams or aspirations. I think that that's a really important thing. And sometimes you might have to constantly remind yourself, like, no, I'm hearing the clarinet. I'm going to go do this thing, audition, or put yourself out there for a TV show, whatever that is. And that's okay that we have moments where we have to say, like, okay, I could do this. You know, not everyone is this fortress that doesn't have weaker perceived moments or whatever, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's good that we sometimes, my parents, when I decided to leave my desk job to go after this full time, they gave me this sign and it said, trust your crazy ideas. I mean, they were initially like, what? We sent you to college, you know, like, hey.
Where's the return on this?
Yeah, like, okay, this is what's next. But I kept that by the door, that it kind of reminded me. And then a friend of mine a couple of years ago told me, she was like, I'm quitting my position and I am going for my dream as an actress. And I was like, I have something for you. And I gave her the sign and I was like, and when you're set, give it to someone else. I don't know. She probably threw it away, but I think hearing the clarinet is really cool.
I think that scene of being in the theater and being at this performance, and it happens after a dream kind of thing where he's repeating this thing at the Silencio and they end up in this theater. And I think that is when you're an actress and you want to perform for people and you want people to feel moved. And the woman who's singing, Rebecca Del Rio, is this amazing performer. You know, David Lynch has used her in multiple things. And every time she performs, people are moved and they're weeping in the audience. And that's what you want as an actress. You want people to feel what you're putting out there. But then essentially it sort of kills her. She passes out or whatever happens. They carry her off the stage. I don't know if she
gives it her all.
She gives it her all. And that's it. And then all that's left is this empty theater. I thought that was maybe a sentiment about actresses performing or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really interesting. You do give yourself and you do open yourself and become vulnerable, and then you wait. Are they going to laugh at this joke? Are they going to cry at my vulnerability? Are they going to connect with me? And you're just waiting, and it can be draining. I feel drained after work a lot sometimes. Sometimes it's just, something funny or whatever, but it is exhausting. And yeah, I feel like she's a shell too.
Mm-hmm. Also, it's a risk if you're doing something comedically with some physicality to it. You're putting yourself in a weird position of sorts, like in Werewolves Within, where you sort of do something with a wrench between your legs. I think it's a wrench,
Yes.
And it's like, when you're doing something that silly and sort of broad, it's like, I mean, part of you has to be like, yeah, I hope this plays out. Like, otherwise I'm going to look pretty silly in a bad sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have such a vivid memory of doing that scene.
It's so
that
funny.
Scene, and I was doing air guitar,
Yeah.
like while everybody was fighting, and I just remember being like, please end up in the film, because if Josh Rubin, the director, liked it, if he thought it was good, he's so smart.
Yeah.
His instincts are just 100% each time. So, but that's not who I am. I'm not someone who's like putting a wrench between my legs and pretending like to stroke it. Like that's not me. I just, like wet socks and stuff. But
and eating dirt. You've gotten really good at eating dirt. I think we covered that.
I'm so good at it. Well, 8 months.
Right.
I mean, it would be embarrassment if I wasn't an upper tier.
Right. Clods, all kinds. Final thoughts for Mulholland Drive. Anybody? Anything we didn't touch on that you want to have before we wrap it up?
There's so much.
I know, that's the problem.
We should revisit this, because I took so many notes.
Me too.
Again. It's just, and it's like, there's even the thing, this is the one thing, the only joy is being on a tape. It just felt like there's sometimes people, even now with people who want to put themselves on social media, like it's not real unless it's someone's watching it. I just saw that and I was like, what does it mean? The only joy is being on tape. He also said, I read too, as a fun thing, you mentioned this, Sarah, earlier about light, but watch the ashtray and watch the robe, and the robe was really interesting.
Yeah, and we do see the ashtray now that you mention it, and the red lamp again when she's ferociously masturbating.
And crying.
This is what I thought was weird. She's actively changing her perspective.
Yeah.
And it's like this film is actively showing us it looks this way from this angle and it looks this way from this angle. And she's doing it in that moment. And it's such it's the sexiest scene I've ever seen. It's like, what? Whoa.
It's like she's doing her own version of that EMDR thing, right?
Oh, yeah, she's just banging herself with
and her brain at the same time.
And a filthy ashtray that had been pristine and other, like a beautiful piano, is now just an old thing filled with cigarette butt. The stench must be like,
yeah,
a turn on to anyone.
Excellent. Sarah, anything else for you?
I mean, totally. I want to talk about like the blue box and the blue keys forever.
Yeah.
And I think that David Lynch does this with stuff where I think that is always our anchor within the film of where the weirdness is happening. And so I think that for me, I try to pay attention to those things. If it's the blue rose in Twin Peaks, or if it's the blue key in the blue box here, because it changes too. And so I think that the key gives us this sort of, it's our compass of figuring out what's going on, because the key is different in different scenes.
Yeah.
Is it blue? Does he often use blue as the color?
Yeah.
Yeah. His colors are so, I think it was Inland Empire, this room where the scenes with the bunnies, but it was like a sitcom, but they all have these bunny heads on. It was all this green and pink. It's the 40s palette. It's so interesting. And I could talk about that movie, but I would be speaking in tongues because I really didn't understand it.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay, well that brings us to final questions. These are the questions just about yourself. What's a good day like for you as an actor now? Things have changed since the last time we talked.
I just worked on a movie. It was one of the best. It was another excellent experience. It's a Paul Weitz movie that's coming up, and Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Malcolm McDowell, Richard Roundtree, and me are some of the people in it.
How fun.
And Malcolm McDowell. I don't even know where to start because each person, but I had Clockwork Orange posters, T-shirts. I've watched that movie. I've read the book. There was a bar in New York City,
Milk bar
Korova Milk Bar. I don't even think it's still there. I was like, oh boy, I'm not going to be cool during this one. And I kept it together, but I told him Clockwork Orange poster on my wall. And he was like, well, Sarah has great taste, and getting to talk with him because he's a wonderful
He's so good.
storyteller. Probably the most excited I've ever been about meeting someone that I've cherished.
One thing I love about him, I apologize for interrupting. I get so excited about this because he has done like a ton of films that a lot of times people would say these are not good movies, but he's a working actor and his profession is acting, and so he looks at the piece and he'll do the part. And there's a movie called Suck, which is a horror musical I always recommend to people. We did an episode on it with Chris Connolly from Ministry, and Malcolm McDowell's amazing in it. I just love that reminder also for people that might be like, I'm not excited about this. I know, Sarah Marshall, you've had to do speaking things where you weren't perhaps maybe super excited about the idea of it some days, but you do it and you get skills from that, and like you said, you take things from one audition to the next, and so sometimes that little gem is something you don't really notice, and perhaps your little key and blue box is a surprise for the future, if you will.
Yeah, I think everything, even if it's that went terribly well, I learned from it. I didn't die. I still have both of my limbs and
Right.
all of my limbs, but my family's still speaking to me. Like you're like, okay, well, I could be bummed about it, or I could just take something. I don't always do this. I could dwell.
Right.
Like, ugh.
We did an event once and I was standing in front of a giant picture of an apple. And so every person that came up was like, what's up with these apples? And I was like, I don't know. They just put us in front of this apple picture. Sarah's laughing. It was 4 hours of people asking me about apples. It was the worst experience. And then at the end, we got to meet somebody who's invited us to be a part of this really awesome event every year since then. So it's like, even though that experience, you go, I'm never doing that again, you're also like, but something good did come from it.
You have to suffer through.
How about them apples? Sorry.
Yeah.
For that, I apologize.
Well played, but I interrupted your Malcolm McDowell story, so I'm sorry.
I was so thrilled to meet him. He walked in the room the first day that we worked together, and he has a presence. And I was like, hello, Malcolm. And from that point on, he shared stories with me. He was a wonderful, wonderful acting partner because he plays my father in this. To connect with him, and we talked about our acting, our take on different ways to methods versus partnering up, like Strasbourg kind of stuff versus connecting with your partner. And my partner Giovanni was working on the film and the crew, and that is excellent because he'll be like, I put a bounce out for you. And I love that. I love getting to see him work. And we shot close to my homes, and the days were not awfully long. And I love the people that took care of me. And I loved the crew, and I loved that I could come home and see my daughter. It wasn't such a long night. And I feel really proud of it. Watching Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin work together. To me, I am not taken with the constant barrage of press releases from the monarchy. I don't need it. I'm like, good. This to me is royalty. And but this, I tried desperately to keep my crazy, like.
Those are the kind of moments that make it so that you know that the decision that you made was the right one for you. If you would have stayed working in your office job like your parents wanted you to do at first, you would never have this moment where you interact with these people and your partner at the same time. You're on the set, you're with these people, you're having this experience that's exhilarating. And you wouldn't get that if you would have stayed with what you were doing.
Yeah, I would have stability in a 401k. And
it's different. It's a different thing. And sometimes people need that and want that, and that makes them feel exhilarated that they have those things. But for you, you get to live in this moment with these people and you feel it, which is just so cool.
I actually had a friend saying to me, and this was the COVID thing where she was like, oh, come on, Sarah, go live your life. You're not responsible for other people. And I said, no, this is how I live my life. I'm pretty vigilant. This may not be interesting for the podcast. I realize that I bring up COVID.
That's okay. People are aware.
But yeah, they've heard of it. But she was like, you got to do this. And I was like, getting to do this and knowing that I've been overly cautious because I'm breathing in the face of somebody who for generations I've looked at as like, Fonda, like Lily Tomlin, forget it. And I don't need to go to a rave.
What?
Which is pretty much a blanket statement for every
day
of my life since I've been 20. But before that, needed it.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is me living, and I can come home and we're supporting our family by doing what we love. And that felt great. That was living.
My tip would be to just lead with "I'm breathing in your face" whenever you meet Lily Tomlin or Jane Fonda.
I'm breathing in your face.
I'm breathing in your face. Nice to meet you.
Or it could just be the way you introduce yourself to people is that I've shared air with Lily Tomlin.
There you go.
I've shared air with Lily Tomlin, Sarah,
Malcolm McDowell
Gemini.
Burns.
Malcolm McDowell, Jane Fonda, Richard Roundtree. It's funny, like Richard Roundtree is an older man. It doesn't matter what age you are. He has got it. He has got it. There is a reason why that man played Shaft.
Yeah.
Like, just has got it. I don't, not condescending to say like, oh, he still got it. It's like, she's got squarely in the palm of his hands, has it. Like,
Yeah. That's great. And just to go back to what I was saying about Malcolm McDowell, I mean, he's good in every single movie. We've been talking about David Lynch, so I don't think I stuck the landing on my point, but even though you would watch, or actually I'll put it on me, I would watch the movies, someone might say the movie isn't that great because it's so maybe under budget or whatever, but he is always amazing. And that's what I think is so interesting about your profession is you can't control it all. Like people will say, did you see that new Brad Pitt movie? Well, he didn't make the movie. He's in it.
Yeah.
But he only has control over that, his performance. The other people in the scene, the lighting, the sound, all the kinds of stuff you can't really control. But when you go on a set like Slow Learners, also starring Adam Pally, so funny in that movie, and I was going back and forth with the director and Adam Pally on Twitter, and they thought it was great that I was talking about that film, but I love it. It's so good, and that's a great example of an indie where everyone's firing on all cylinders. You know, it's so
were you
good.
talking to Sheena or Don?
Don, but then
Yeah.
Sheena chimed in. I didn't find her Twitter, but then I found it.
They're really interesting people. The way the docs and stuff, they're real film. Yeah, they're fascinating. Like they just go in.
That's awesome. Well, I don't want to take up your entire day, but I gotta ask my favorite question, which is our final question. Sarah Burns, what are your dreams like?
I have a lot of nightmares. I have nightmares, and I have what I think are little glimpses of the future, but it's nothing that's helpful. It's not like, oh, choose this number. It's like you're gonna have this conversation with the guy over the tennis ball, like and I'm like, oh my god, this happened, which freaks everyone out because when you're like, you say to some random person, I had a dream about you. They're like,
Ugh.
keep it in your pants. But I have recurring sets in my dreams, and I feel like the last couple of years, not just COVID, but perhaps being a mother and a parent, many more horrifying dreams. And I wake up a lot.
Oh yeah.
I have a noisy family and a lot of noisy animals, so I'm always like, oh, waking up.
Excellent. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. Sarah Burns, thank you for returning.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Sarah Burns me on Instagram, Sarah Burns on Twitter, which I don't think you've been on for about 4 years.
No, I recently got on and said that's funny. Shannon
This has
O'Neill,
gotta be
who's
said.
she's such a funny comedian. She posted one thing and it was like a Wordle. People are doing Wordle. She said something like "chunt" is not a word. And I think that was what I responded to.
Nice.
It was either that or maybe this Greg Tugalesco is an actor and a producer. I think Tugalesco. But that's it. It's a terrifying space.
Yes,
Twitter.
it's true. Chunt is my favorite New Zealand ska band.
Wait, it's also a sex
It's
act.
also a sex act.
Yeah, but it's not fun.
Oh, what is side piece before we go?
Oh, a side piece is this. Oh yeah, that's interesting. Side piece is this. Holy cow! I did this so long ago.
It comes
My
out this
friend
year.
Nate was in it. I'm having trouble remembering all the details. Like a choose your own adventure short. I don't even know if it's come out yet to be viewed.
I can't find it yet. Slated for this year.
But I swear I had a brand new baby at that time.
Wow.
Just a random baby. I was hanging around with
Someone
a
else's
baby.
baby.
Just eating dirt and holding a random baby.
Yeah, I don't know who this dude is, but he's fun. He doesn't sleep.
I love to party with babies.
Okay, well, people can seek that somehow if they choose that adventure. Sarah Marshall, your Spicy Marshall on Instagram and Twitter. Be sure to check out Sarah's podcast, The Meaningful Marketplace.
Yeah, find me, everybody.
I'm still Dirk Marshall, and you can find us at VHS_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Feel free to leave us a rating or review. Until next time, please don't look behind Winkies.
If we want to hear a clarinet
Silencio. Oh hey, welcome to our secret little hidden portion of our Mulholland Drive episode. My wife, when we finished recording the episode, had the great idea that we all should write out, compose our basic thoughts on the film, because we talk about things in so many different directions, so many different layers, as you can with a Lynch film, and we never really pin down our meanings or experiences for the film. But when I got Sarah Burns's reply, I felt like it was so perfect that I didn't have anything that I could possibly add, being that this is their profession and their experiences. So now I'm going to take this opportunity to read you the reply I got from Sarah Burns. As many times as I've watched Mulholland Drive, I'm still not quite sure what happened. And that's precisely what I love about the film and David Lynch. The gift he gives us with each of his films is the lingering mystery that is ours to turn over and over, but possibly never solve. Like the blue box we see in the film, we will look at it again and again, longing for answers, but I think it's the return to the box, to the film, to the questions that's the greatest joy. So if I were to make a guess and take a shot, share with you the things I'm thinking about Mulholland Drive, is that we saw the shattered pieces of the shared dream, the dream that's lured so many of us to Hollywood. Mulholland Drive is the story of all of those who came to Hollywood to seek their fortune by following their dreams, and sadly, learned that our dreams are often lived as nightmares. I think we get to see this from multiple perspectives, from different versions of the experience, and with those dreams, the nightmares. I think of David Lynch's constant use of dreams, nightmares, and non-linear timelines when I say this, and I'll leave you with a song, one of my favorites. A candy-colored clown they call the Sandman tiptoes to my room every night, just to sprinkle stardust and whisper, "Go to sleep, everything is all right." I close my eyes, then I drift away into the magic night. I softly say a silent prayer like dreamers do, then I fall asleep to dream my dreams of you. In dreams, I walk with you. In dreams, I talk to you. In dreams, you're mine, all of the time. We're together, in dreams. Just before the dawn, I awake to find you gone. I can't help it, I can't help it. If I cry, I remember that you said goodbye. It's too bad that all these things can only happen in my dreams, only in dreams, in beautiful dreams. That's In Dreams by Roy Orbison. Thank you all for listening. This has been a true pleasure, one of my favorite episodes. Until next time, I'm Dirk Marshall, and this has been VH Us.
Messages let loose and vision void. Bloodsuckle and honeysuck. O rose, thou art sick. Oh, the vision and void. The blood sickle cuts the honey. Their little children's heavy heads. My dreams are at wall in my bed. This is